Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Welcome to those on YouTube and to those on Zoom as well. Right. Welcome to those that are joining us. We'll be starting shortly. Um, just for those that are here, sort of an announcement. Our session that we've been running on Wednesday mornings will be next Thursday, the 25th at 10 a.m. And not on Wednesday due to the public holiday. We would just also like to take this moment to thank you for giving up your evening, and we will begin shortly. Um, I see there is quite a number of people who are joining in, both on Zoom and to those on YouTube and to those here on Teams. We'll probably get started a few minutes past 7. If you want to just post in the chat where you're from, um, how you're doing, and just your name. So welcome. It's great that we have many people joining in. Sibasiso, while we're getting checked in, you do have the share icon available.
Yes, yes, I do. I do, thank you.
Right. Evening, evening. Apologies, I don't have my camera on. So, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for joining. It is just gone 7. I see a number of people joining in across the platforms, and welcome. And thank you for giving up your Thursday evening for our third week. For those that just joined in, an announcement that, or reminder that next week our morning session will be running on Thursday at 10 a.m. Due to the public holiday on the Wednesday. And next week is our final week in the series. We do value your feedback and thank you for all the words of encouragement and thanks. We do have a survey that we will send out again. If you haven't completed or you would like to add to it, you're welcome just to respond. We have had a request to cover other topics, which we will then do in the future. So thank you. I would like to hand over to Sibasiso Zunga, who's going to take us through the first part of our session tonight on cybersecurity, and then we will go into some AI stuff. So Sibasiso, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Am I audible? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, I see thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks a million. Okay, great. Welcome everyone. Hopefully we will have a good time together. I see a hand from Vusi. Please, I think you can type on the chat if you need to comment. Or if you've got a question, and then we'll take that question and we'll continue from there. Just a brief introduction about myself. I'm Sibasiso Zunga. As mentioned, I am a director of my church IT and a former administrator for the Diocese of Johannesburg in the Anglican Church. I'm also have been a practitioner in IT since 1999. With the past decade being involved, or decade and a half being involved in governance, including security as well. So this is why I'm here to present to you all. So just maybe to kick off by asking a few key questions to us. First question is that, do you ever, as a homeowner, leave your home locked at any given time? Also, you share your keys with your neighbors and friends, your house keys, your car keys. Do you trust those who provide home services to you, whether it's delivery people and the likes? And who do you trust and why? What's the reason that you've got people that you are trusting? So let's move on. Please hold on to these questions. You will get to answer them as we go along, whether you can do such or cannot do such. So we're going to discuss computer security, cyber attacks, mobile device security, phishing, and the POPI Act. When we start with computer security, Why do we need to secure our computers, whether it's laptops or desktops? For two reasons. The physical securing of your device is important to avoid them being stolen, because they may steal them and then get to use them for whatever reasons that they need to use them for. And you also have to make sure that you lock the actual computer, Control Alt Delete, and then you go to lock. Generally gives you that functionality. Try to lock your computers and desktops as much as you possibly can. USBs are a big no-no. If you can, avoid using these at all costs. And if you have to, make sure that you've got a strong antivirus on your computer, because they are generally full of viruses. Digital files, please make sure that they're secured in your computers to avoid these being stolen one way or the other. And we normally have encryption, which works well in terms of that. Passwords, make sure that you avoid allowing autofill for your accounts, usernames, and passwords, because it will just take someone having access to one of your accounts, especially Google accounts. And if they can get access to that, then that's it. They'll be able to have access to all your devices as well. Now, here's a bit of a quiz for us all. Having said that, do you think that these are the do's and don'ts? So this is just a quiz so that you can have a general knowledge of these things. In your own view, do you think that this is good to do using a cable lock to secure your computer while you're away from your desk? Do you think it's good to write down your password on a slip of paper, which you store on your desk? Do you think it's good to plug USBs into your computer to determine if they are dangerous? Do you think it's good to create different passwords for each device and account you use? Do you think it's good to avoid allowing your browser to autofill your account credentials? Do you also think it's good that you share the passwords with people you trust? And do you think it's good to only leave your laptop open and locked during office hours? Do you think it's good to be cautious when entering your passwords into your device when people are around? So these are some of the do's and don'ts. And if you've figured out the do's versus the don'ts, I think you are on the right track. But most of us get confused primarily because we're in a church environment. And because we're in the church environment, we tend to trust a little bit more than we should. And that's where we get it wrong. We must try and steer clear of such. Because, yes, the green says yes, that's good, and red says no, it's not good. Sharing your passwords with people you trust is not good. You do not share your password with anyone. Steer clear of that. Do not share your password. It's not good at all. Avoiding allowing your browser to autofill your account credentials, that's good practice. Being cautious when entering your password into devices when people are around, it's good practice. Even if someone says to you, you don't trust me, just tell them that you're being cautious. That's the right thing to do, because we end up getting people writing down passwords on slips of paper, which they store on their monitor right next to the computer. I mean, that's as good as locking your house and leaving the keys at the gate or at the door. That's what you're literally doing. So you might as well leave it open. Because you can't lock your house or lock your car and leave the keys right next to the car. Rather, don't lock it, so that whoever wants to take whatever they take, they don't have to still take the key. So please, let's avoid doing these things. Don't plug in a USB to check if it works on your computer. If you don't know where it comes from, ignore it. So these are some of the do's and don'ts around computer security. Now let's move on and look at cyber attacks. Cyber attacks are a reality of our lives, but they are like any other attack in any other environment. Why am I saying that? So let's start with malware, for instance. You've got viruses, which like any other virus, whether it's a virus in the human body, virus in flora and fauna outside, it still works the same way. it attaches itself to the system and then starts to eat it up slowly but surely. So these are very dangerous, and we must be mindful of that. Trojan horses, if you know the story of the Trojan horse, it's a virus that masks itself and behaves like it's not a virus until it attaches itself and causes a lot of harm. And then you've got ransomware, which is exactly as the name says, it's about ransom. So this is where they will send they will attach a file which has a virus, and it will block access to all services on your computer, if not the entire network. But it blocks these services, and once they block these services, then they demand a ransom, and mostly it's in Bitcoin because it's very difficult to trace where they're going to and where they're coming from. So they normally ask for Bitcoin, and it can get quite expensive. And NPOs and churches are targeted a lot because we tend to be more trusting of whatever it is that we are receiving. Social engineering, we're looking at phishing and spear phishing. Phishing is basically where you get all these emails. Spear phishing, they're directed at you. They will say, "Dear Zoom, your great-grandfather, so-and-so Zoom, left money at some point, and this is and they give you the information that will closely resemble your family, and they get a lot of people with this. So again, we should not be distrusting. And then there's the physical part. Sometimes they call you as well. Then you've got these other common ones: advanced persistent threats, spam, which is why you've got a junk mail folders as well. And then, but this is another important one. When you go to a public space and you have to access public Wi-Fi, try and use the virtual private network connectivity, VPN connectivity, or just don't connect through public Wi-Fi, especially with a device that houses some of your applications, whether banking applications or any other sensitive information, because they do use this a lot to get to a lot of us. And the idea here is so that you understand that most of the gaps in the system are not on the central system. They're always on the periphery of the system. So they always are going to get to you on the periphery, not on the core system. So just be mindful of that. And then how do you know if you're compromised? Computer might get very slow, especially with viruses. It might crash. You might have annoying pop-ups. There might be fake email and social media messages, unexpected software. Please, 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 please. We love our children. Do not allow your kids to always install everything on all the devices that you use in the house. Please be mindful of this. This is very, it's costly for a lot of people. Any application that's going to tell you disable antivirus software, please ignore that. It's very incorrect. And then how do you know that you're being phished? Firstly, too good to be true. Again, as we always say, that the only thing that's too good and is true is Christ dying for our sin. That is good and it is true. Everything else is too good to be true. Please be mindful of that. If suddenly someone feels generous to give you money, just know that there's a problem with that, especially people you don't know. Because if it's someone that knows you, they'll call you and say, can we have coffee? And then offer you the money. They're not going to send you an email about that. It's too good to be true. It is. Personal information request, avoid that. If anything, if you feel that maybe I should respond, go to your bank or call your bank directly. It's far much safer to do that. You would rather delay by an hour and call the bank than to jump on board and think that's true. Bad spellers, again, this is very big. But the bad spellers, they're also very aware of people who know about the bad spelling. So more often than not, they're trying to make sure that those who are aware of the bad spelling are not reading the emails. And those that are reading the emails are the ones that ignore the bad spelling and continue, because they know those are fully gullible people. So be mindful of the bad spellers. And unfamiliar sender, again, I repeat that you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't respond to them. And false identities, there's a lot of them. The big one is where you are told that And I find a lot of people forward these messages and I get very annoyed. Elon Musk all of a sudden has got money for South Africans or Patrice Motsepe. Why would they do that? In which world have you seen a billionaire just offering people money for nothing? It doesn't happen. They make money because people work for them. They are not going to give people money for free. So it doesn't happen. So let's just be cautious and understand. If it's too good to be true, so we need to be mindful of that. Be proactive. Before downloading a program from the internet, make sure you trust the site. Avoid the being a victim of ransomware and make sure you back up your data. Back it up properly, but also remember, don't overexpose yourself. There are certain sites that the computer will tell you that this looks unsafe. Don't continue. If your computer says it looks unsafe, just don't continue. Don't think that the computer is broken. Watch for suspicious emails all the time and do not use public Wi-Fi for all other activities that will involve your credentials as well. Mobile device security. Our mobile devices have been around for quite some time, and the penetration of mobile devices is far much greater than desktop devices. However, I can tell you right now that security is low because most of these devices are not necessarily corporate devices. So the security around this is very low. So it means we have to be extra vigilant because we've got data that's sitting in there that's very sensitive, including our apps, including data for our children's data. We scan and have our birth certificates and IDs and all those things on our phones. Make sure that your phone is fully secured. Again, we love our children. Avoid giving your children the phone to do whatever they want on that phone. That is going to put you in trouble because you don't know what they're installing. And there's this thing, even if you look at, there's this thing called ShareIt. Once they install ShareIt, they can move files around. And they will even install files that you ordinarily would not be installing. And then before you know it, you've got problems on your phone. And then you go to the bank and you complain, and the bank says, this was authorized on your phone, and you don't have a way of doing anything about it. So please be mindful and careful of that sayings. As mentioned, try and install Find My Phone as well app on your phone. It's called different things for different operating systems. Android may call it something else, Apple may call it something else, Huawei may call it something else. Just remember that, look for that, install it, and make sure that it's active. The advantage of this is that even if it gets stolen, you can wipe your phone clean. And they will get the device, but they won't get your information. Insurance will only insure your device, not the data that's sitting in your device. I don't think such insurance is ever going to exist because it can be very expensive. They won't know what you were doing last week. You are the only one who knows. So please be mindful of that and update yourself. Make sure that your operating system is up to date. That's very important as well. Whenever you see updates, just accept the update so that you can be secured as well. Phishing. Let's discuss phishing one more time. The phishing emails always have a sense of urgency. They will try and ask you to change your account information. They will always tell you that your account has been hacked if they want you to reset it. And they even send you OTPs. And these are fake OTPs, but they look so real. They'll send you an OTP, you are going to believe it's the bank for authentication, which is why most banks, they will use your app, the banking app, to authenticate because they've realized that the OTP thing is getting to be too old. And they will get you to ask for bank transfers. They want you to send money for donations, or you've won a prize and you just need to pay 300 rand to release the prize. It happens. But one thing that I can tell you, they will always use the right branding, the right corporate identity, and you will honestly believe that this is a legitimate company. So be vigilant. Know the organizations you are dealing with. Know your bank. Understand how your bank communicates with you. Understand the type of emails that they send to you. Because if you understand that, you will know when something is phishing. So I've mentioned this as well, so I'm not going to talk too much to it. We will share these decks with you at some point. And then let's go in and look at the Protection of Personal Information Act. Protection of Personal Information Act is an act of the Parliament in South Africa. I think the first draft, before it was even enacted, was released in 2013, and it went through a lot of entities and activities to make sure that by the time it got signed a few years back, about 3 years back, and was put into law, then everyone in South Africa was okay with it. They always say consensus is if we are all equally unhappy. So that's the point about that. And then it gives definitions of each role and each particular area within the act itself. And these are the important ones. A competent person, a person who is legally competent to consent to an action or decision being taken in respect of any matter concerning a child. Again, this is going to be very key going forward, especially in our churches, noting that you can't just, for instance, sign out a child that you didn't bring into the Sunday school or those that have got nurseries. So you can't just do that. So this becomes important as well. And the information that is being shared. Data subject means the person to whom personal information relates to. Sometimes it might be clergy, sometimes it might be laity, it's open. An information officer, basically it's the senior-most person that would be as contemplated, in the Promotion of Access to Information Act. Might be a bishop, might be an SG, depending on the denomination. Personal information means information relating to an identifiable living natural person and where it is applicable, and identifiable existing jurisdicting person. Processing means any operations, activities, or any set of operations, whether or not automatic means, concerning personal information, including collection, receipt, recording, organization, collation, storage, updating, altering, consultation use. Let's remember that in our churches, we do a lot of processing of personal information. So this binds us as well. Gone are the days where we would believe that churches are immune from any act of parliament. We are an organization, all of us, and we all have to abide by the law of the land. So this is applicable to us. And the responsible party means a public or private body or any other person which alone in conjunction with others determines the purpose of and means of processing personal information. Depends on the denomination and how that looks like. And then there are 8 conditions that are stipulated in the POPI Act. They talk about accountability, meaning that the responsible party must ensure that the conditions set out in this chapter and all the measures to give effect to such conditions. Processing limitation, personal information must be processed lawfully and in a reasonable manner that does not infringe the privacy of the data subject. Let's pause here a bit. In whatever role that you are playing in church, do not find yourself believing that a child is working at a call center, and if they bring a list of people, they are going to get 500 rands because then they can use that list to go and sell them insurance. If none of those people have consented to that and they do not agree to it, if you do that, then you're breaking the law. So we're not allowed to do that. Hence, I said in the beginning that let's think about who do we trust and why. Purpose specification, personal information must be collected for a specific, explicit, defined, and lawful purpose related to the function or activity of the responsible party. As I said, you're collecting my information so that you understand the church law. Yes, it's in your my church management system. It's for the church law purposes. You may use this to call me or for my anniversary. You may use this to call me on my birthday. Perfect. You can't use it to sell me anything because I did not consent to the church selling me anything. You can use it to give me updates about the next fundraising. Perfect. That's good. But as soon as you're trying to sell me anything, then it's against the law because I didn't consent to that. And then further processing limitation. Again, further processing to be compatible with the purpose of collection, unless you get my permission. So the last 4, where's this thing? Yeah, the last 4, information quality. So reasonable care must be taken and steps to manage the personal information, my personal information. It has to be accurate. So you can't capture my personal information incorrectly. It has to be complete. It can't be misleading in any way. And it has to always be updated when necessary. And if personal information is collected, the responsible party must take reasonable steps to ensure that the data subject is aware, meaning me, of the information being collected and where information is not collected from the data subject. Source must from which it is collected. The name and address of the responsible party and the purpose for which the information is being collected is also necessary. And then there's the security safeguards. What my church is going to do for you is that for as long as you don't give away your keys to the next person, my church will make sure that they secure and safeguard the data. But as soon as you log in and you leave your computer logged in and you don't lock it afterwards, my church IT is assuming it's you. There is no way for my church IT to determine that someone else has just stepped in and started using your computer. You logged in, it's your credentials, and we manage that as well. Because if anyone sitting anywhere is trying to access, you can try it even now. Use incorrect credentials, you won't go in. But it's when you use yours that you will go in as well. So be mindful of that. And the data subjects may access and correct their personal information from source. That's very important. If we are using, for those that are using the cache management system, please make sure that each data subject has got access. Each person has got access to the system and they can update their information as is required. Lastly, I just want to share something with you. I asked the question, who do you trust? And the Bible says it is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in men. So let's be vigilant because it's the right thing to do. And let's stop trusting and let's start doing the right thing. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if there are any questions or comments. Then we can move over to the AI presentation. Do we have any hands there?
Thank you, Siba Cecil. There is a couple questions here, and so I want to just quickly grab them. What is the best antivirus to use? And if I may answer that, the question there is always what is best for your environment, and what is best for the church, and your wallet. So a lot of the products do work, but you must also just verify from year to year that the product is still up to standard. One of the things we've seen again in the last week on security has been what's called supply chain hacks. And one of the supply chain compromises is when a bad actor or an unfaithful actor buys a known good company. Malwarebytes is an example that was bought by a company that was run really well and taken over by a company that didn't spend time on quality. So just be careful and do your research. In most cases, those using Windows, Microsoft Defender is actually really good, and works in 90% of the cases. It's got a feature to enable cloud scanning, so it checks with the cloud and the servers that for stuff if it's a problem, which is running live updates. So that one it uses a bit of data, and I know a lot of people in South Africa say switch it off, but that's part of the engine that really works. So that was that question. The second question, what does keeping a webcam on a PC help with? So, Reverend Radani, I'm not quite sure of the question. Um, I think what is helpful is if your webcam doesn't have an indicator or a light on to say it's on, you should use the protective shield, or some people put some tape over it, so bad actors can't necessarily switch on your camera and see. Um, but having a webcam does allow you to interact. Um, One of the things I have said in the past, if you do get a suspicious call or from somebody that sounds suspicious, go to a video call, switch on the cameras, and let them show your face, because it's a lot harder to create a video image. It's not impossible, and with AI, we've seen a lot of that. And then the last question also is how to protect your WhatsApp groups. And so I think this is a very important question. In your WhatsApp groups is to make sure that your link to join, you can reset that, and to reset that from time to time because people share it, you've put it on your Facebook page or whatever. Make sure to select approve new members, and don't allow members to add others to the group, and keep it in control. One of the biggest things we see is where people go into the WhatsApp group to mine numbers, and sometimes it's innocent in the sense of, as Sibasiso pointed out, a friend or a child or your family member is working at a call center and looking for numbers to sell to, and you go to your WhatsApp group from your church and you get numbers. One of the other things that we see often is people's WhatsApp is phished from them, and or the devices are compromised, and then they suddenly start asking questions, or someone that you know. If you're getting a random message from someone in your group or someone you know asking you for money, especially when it's urgent, hi, I've been in an accident, or hi, try and do a phone call, do a video call, just to verify. If it's someone you know, the family member, get hold of them. So it's something we've seen often where that happens in WhatsApp groups. So hopefully that answers that question. This question, what is best practices for church administrators handing out parishioner information and to allow parish members to use Office PC systems? So this is two good questions. Firstly, you may not share other people's information. Poppy's clear on that, and I think Sibasiso covered that. If someone is looking for someone, drop them a WhatsApp and say, hi, ABC is looking for your details. May I share them? If it's, hi, I know John is the plumber and I'm in urgent need of a plumber, and, John's got their number on their bucky or something, sure, you can share that kind of information. But any personal information, please don't share that. And yeah, so the personal using computer systems, this is a good example to have a dedicated computer, or you create a user on the machine that's locked down to data that only accesses certain information. And this can be supervised. I think it is really encouraging, and I know Chris spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, to say if you've got some computers available that people in the community can come look for jobs, create CVs, have people in the community that can help. That's really great. But try not to use Office systems where data is. And if you are, log in with a separate user. Don't let them use your user. So hopefully I've covered that. Sibisiso, I don't know if you want to chip in.
No, I think you've covered it quite well. The only thing is that Poppy is strict about sharing information. It's safer not to share personal information than to try and create a practice out of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then on Zoom, there's a question: how safe is it to share the My Church IT link for members to register themselves? It is very safe. It's the mychurchmanagement.org site. It is then people are sharing their details, they're consenting, they're verifying their email address, etc. And then there's no pieces of paper with information that can be given. One thing I just want to add around data security, because we've seen this. If you have a list up at the church and say a prayer list or volunteer for XYZ, and you write your name and your phone number and your email address. I've witnessed this in a church where somebody went at the end of the service and took a photograph of that list, and in that specific case, it was to give to their family member to go and sell you insurance or something. So we were able to intercept that, but we've heard stories of this in the many times. So just be aware of that. Don't let lists lie around in the church unsupervised. Right. Now let's change gears. I think I've covered all those questions. Let's talk about technology and artificial intelligence. Who here hasn't heard of AI? Or do you think AI is evil? So the law of connection, that we are building relationship to inspire and influence others. Communication is a vehicle for this connection, enabling leaders to build trust. And without effective communication, our ability as leaders is limited. So what is AI? AI is integrated in everything we have at this moment. And so this is just artificial intelligence, and it's based on what's called large language models. And a book is just a large language model. It's just a bunch of words with information that we learn against. And this is based learning on neural networks, on vast amounts of data. And so this can then generate text and learn what you want to do. So large language models is where we are at the moment. Artificial intelligence is just machine learning that we've gotten to know. So spell check is an artificial intelligence kind of thing. Trying to do grammar, that would be a large language model. Now, generative AI is when the intelligence is generating content, and where it can generate content intelligently. Now, we haven't fully reached that moment. So, here's a little video. This has garnished 300 million views across different social media platforms. And the title to this video is My CCTV Caught This. And it had most of the world fooled, where this was completely artificially generated. This is not real. And so some might even go as far as calling this AI slop. So please be very careful how convincing this is. A year ago, we would have seen videos that were generated, and the fingers, there would be 5 fingers and a thumb, so it would effectively be 6. Now the models are so good that it'll get you your 4 fingers, and you won't even realize that it's AI. In some cases, if the image is too clear and too accurate and too in sync, that's another way of discovering it, artificial images. So, artificial general intelligence or generative refers to machines with human like general intelligence, able to learn, reason, and adapt across many different domains. And this is theoretical. And the word here is on reason. And so, reason is based on if this equals this, then do this. Where a human can sort of go, oh, this doesn't make sense, or maybe I need to think about it. And what about this or that? And so that's where the AI models aren't quite there yet, or don't have enough power. So, artificial intelligence is broad concepts of machines performing tasks that normal require human intelligence, speech recognition, recommendations, image recognition, and can normally follow general tasks. Benefits: it can save us time, boost productivity. It's available 24/7, and can help explain things to us. And if you don't, you can interact with it and ask it questions, and it can explain things. So it's really good in an education sector, especially in our South African context where there's lots of children in a classroom and one doesn't always follow, but it is there as an aid, not as a replacement. Common uses: writing, research, teaching, brainstorming, language for translation, technology support, etc. So, one of the biggest AI's developments that we saw many years ago is we got this little thing called GPS satellites that send out pings to where you are and to push that into a map. And we've had GPSs for access for the last 30 plus years. But in the last 15, 16 years, a little tool like Google Maps came along, Waze, and this is now taking some intelligence on calculating how you can get from A to B. How is the traffic? What time are you traveling? And looking at past data, looking at the current data. And so that's why Google loves it when you use your Google Maps, even on a route you know, because you are feeding back to it your data, how fast you're driving. So if you're driving on a highway at 60 kilometers an hour instead of 120, and it starts seeing everyone around you doing that, then you know the traffic is slow. If everyone stopped, then they know there's a problem, and that's when you see the red lines. So that's AI thinking and working out something. And it can be simple or it can be complex. So, yeah, those are ways that AI has been part of our lives for a very long time and very helpful. Um, Applications with AI engines: there's Gemini, which is from Google, ChatGPT from OpenAI, Claude from Anthropic. There's a number of other engines like R1 from I've gone blank. Somebody can from China. Um, and search engines like Google are using AI technology, and now they're giving you summaries, which is you see in AI summaries of stuff that it's indexed. Um, There's tools like Canva, which can do image generation and assisted imaging. Um, Grammarly, also an old product that helps you with grammar, proofreading, assisting you with content and that. And I'm emphasizing the word assisting because it's not to replace your own creativity and thinking. And so that is just something to always keep in mind. So one of the questions we see are why should I pay for AI when I can get something for free? And so a lot of the free plans often use older or lighter models, data that's out of date. Answers can be more generic, miss nuances. It's not always that AI is bad. It's sometimes when you're on a budget, the providers, especially when their systems are busy, will give you short answers, incorrect answers. A term you may have heard of is hallucination. This is when the AI started making up stuff or talking rubbish. You would see that often in court cases where people were using AI to write opinions on legal and cite cases that didn't exist. The new AI models that have come out this year don't do that anymore. They go and find the real cases and the real details. Small errors can erode our trust, and we need to read and think critically. But just be careful that AI is not as intelligent as it's made out to be. It can make mistakes. Paid tiers are often smarter. They will allocate more resources to you and be able to give deeper insights and research. Also, the free models often take a long time, so you go into a queuing system and then you get answered when a system becomes available. So, yeah, paid people get higher priorities. So, where does AI training come from? So, it comes from websites, books, code, from images and videos, and license and public content. Sorry, I do know there's a spelling mistake on content here. And then opt-in user data. And so data is collected and curated, filtered, deduplicated. So stuff that is duplicated is then removed, and then it's created what's called tokens, which are bite-sized amounts of information. Now, one thing you would have noted in media where this newspaper is suing the AI engines because it learnt information from it, or a book publisher is upset because the AI has learned content of a book. The reverse reality is everyone is asking AI information, and if it's got nothing to learn from, then it's also useless. And so this is something I want to add is a lot of the content has been trained on a northern hemisphere, predominantly European and American content in English. And so we should make our content available on websites. Don't stop producing content. Don't rely on, oh, well, someone else will do it. We need to continue generating content, thoughtful stuff that's relevant to us in Africa, in South Africa, and also in vernacular. And so this is important that we cover content in multiple languages. So the engine is not only learning in English, but is also learning vernac, and that people can then interact in their vernacular and get content that is relevant to our context here in Africa. So, just a word of encouragement, don't think that AI learning off your content is bad. And yes, there is a case that providers should pay for content. And so that's something for big providers to make sure that your content isn't just plagiarized. I'm not saying that. But it is also helpful to make your content known or give summary content available that can be trained against the engines. So, yeah, I, I, I always jokingly said silly people put out silly stuff and the AI learns silly things. Hopefully that's sanitized enough. One product, Microsoft 365, which has Copilot, which is built into Windows and your Office suite, and Teams is able to record meetings, take minutes, summarize notes, extract data. And so this is stuff that is easy to get wrong and easy to help with. It's also great for live translations, for people who are hard of hearing, who want to see captions. So AI definitely has its purpose. Zoom also has some engines. And so, yeah, discernment is something we need to use. And so 1 Thessalonians 5:21 says, test everything and hold fast what is good. And something to ask, does this glorify God? Does it serve the vulnerable? And does it build disciples? And please make sure that your technology isn't hurting the church, but aiding the church and to hate each other. And so we want to make sure that whoever uses this technology is us and not those with bad intent. And so AI is a tool that can help people, but not replace what God has placed in us, not to replace our brains. What you input may or may not be kept private. And don't replace people with AI. Don't go and retrench people. But it does also allow us to do things we may not have been able to do within our own context. And so if you've got young people in your church, let them come in and help you. Let them be part of the process. But it is also something that you can use to refine. One thing I would say is to use AI in your communications to help polish it. Don't let it replace. Tell it, I want to use my tone. I want to use my words. Don't be. But it can also help you to sort out some grammar. It can help you with facts. So often people post adverts or information, something happening here, but they don't tell you that it's happening in Joburg or Cape Town. An example that I've seen is there's a few church names like St. Francis that in Joburg there's about 3 St. Francis Anglican church and a few Methodist churches that I can think of off the top of my head. And so people have said event happening at St. Francis in Joburg, and there's a Methodist and Anglican church within a couple kilometers of each other, and people don't say the Methodist church or the Anglican church. So, hey, AI, would people be able to understand this and can say, oh, well, I know that there's 2 St. Francis, maybe you should just give some more information. So those are kind of things that it can help you with. Read the fine print, change what you need to do, And don't automatically trust the output. And AI will try and predict where you're going. One of the things we want to be saying from Poppy, never ever include personal information into the engine. Don't include other people's details. Only submit information that you would be comfortable with others. And also make sure that you're not sharing Poppy information. Don't share passwords. Don't share email addresses. And don't input personal matters. Something that I spoke about yesterday, and I just want to emphasize this again. AI is not a counselor. It is not someone to replace your interactions with humans. So we started the first slide to say connections are between humans, and humans communicate. We are not. There are some that don't like communicating, but most people interact with each other. We are not on our own creatures. And so be careful to get reliant on AI for counseling. Yes, I know not everyone can afford a counselor, and it can be helpful for guides, but not as counseling. And so I would encourage, especially those who are in counseling or pastoral care, to ensure that people don't become dependent on AI. One of the things that AI is really good at is with 2 minutes of somebody's voice, they can replicate that voice and make it sound like the person. 30 minutes of that voice without artificial limits now, which a lot of companies have had to put in place. You can mimic everyone down to their tone, etc. And so one of the things we have seen is people who are no longer with us, they've got voice recordings, voice notes, videos that they feed into the AI. And the AI learns mannerisms and information. And so people have, as people have passed on, have cloned this person into AI as if they're still alive, and created a dependency that's not what God intended us to have. And so that's just something to warn about, etc. And so part of is particularly spear phishing, so where someone is targeting you for information. They've gone as far as mimicking family members or other people you know, and to phone you so it sounds like it's somebody you know. And that's why I'm saying, if you're in something doesn't make sense, ask for a video call, because it's a lot harder to imitate video. In 2 years' time, you're all going to shout at me and say it's going to be very easy. Right now, not so much, or not very affordably. Maybe in a few years' time. So if you're in doubt, just be careful. I sort of feel we've hit our 8 o'clock mark, and so yeah, it's always interesting to keep to a timer, dynamic, and so yeah, our team, Francis Sibasiso, who's presented, Zanelli, Chris, and myself, and so thank you. And if you wanting help with your AI, if you have questions on your IT security and Poppy compliance, we are here as my church to help you, and we can definitely come along and consult with you. And so this 4-week program is to give you the basics. People do degrees on this information and do years of study. And so we've got loads of experience between our team in this space, both in the church, other non-profits, and in the corporate world. So we are here to come alongside you, to help you, and yeah. So if there are any questions, we'll take that now. But if anyone wants to drop off, we want to honor our time of making sure that we stick into an hour. Next week, we will look at church management software and our system. We will also just remind those that there's no session on Wednesday, but Thursday at 10 a.m. for those in the morning. I'm not seeing any new questions in the chat. And so I want to just thank everyone for attending. But yeah, please get in contact with us if you need any help. Thanks, everyone.